Right, welcome to Hank Cisco Show. Hey, don't touch that remote. We got a great show here today. Listen, call your mom, your pop, your aunt, your uncle, your mom, your gummadis and gumbadis. A very, very important show. This is the one that hits the heartstrings of your heart. The Laurel House. And that's, we say, well, what's a Laurel House? I just briefly tell you, it's someplace where a woman that is abused, beaten up, battered, whatever it may be, having a problem, go there. It's a shelter, but it's a little bit more than a shelter. And I'm so happy to have one of the directors here. She'll tell you who she is, what she does, and also her friend is having a fundraiser to raise money. You know, to keep the shelter going, it takes money, okay? And we have a lot of people that want to help. So we'll tell you where to send the money. You can send a check, you can cash, you can call me, and I'll hand it over there. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to shut up and talk. Tell me who you are and your title.
My name is Jenny Boyer, and I am the Senior Director of Housing and Operations for Laurel House. So okay. I oversee all of our housing operations as well as government contracts and human resources things.
Hi, I'm Lee Tran. I'm a local businesswoman. I have encountered with Laurel House a couple times, and I'm a big supporter of Laurel House. So I will talk about a little bit about.
You're going to talk about more about this
yes.
fundraiser. You're behind it.
I am behind
right?
it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now let's talk about the Laurel House. What you do and the need for support. Come on.
Okay. All right. So what we do is, lots of people know what Laurel House is, but they kind of say, oh, well, it's that shelter. We are a lot more than a shelter. We are Montgomery County's only comprehensive domestic violence program. And so we definitely, the only comprehensive domestic violence program. So we provide shelter, obviously, we've talked about that. But in addition to the shelter, we have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week hotline. Where victims can call. The number is 1-800-642-3150.
And we'll put that on the screen, make sure we get it.
Great.
Okay.
So if you need support, if you're a victim of domestic violence or know a victim of domestic violence and want to call for support, or if you need the safety of shelter or counseling, any of those things, you can certainly call that 800 number, that's 642-3150. In addition to the shelter, we provide individual and group counseling. So we do free, confidential, domestic violence specific counseling, whether you are still in your abusive relationship or whether you've left that relationship 25 years ago.
Like if a lot of times, I can talk from experience because I'm a former police officer and I was head of the juvenile division in Northtown. And many times I get a call where the wife was having a problem with her husband, with the son or the daughter or so, and the runaway, the child come home, and the mother wants him home, and the father would say no, and husband and wife would be fighting, and who's going to stay or whatever it may be. So it's always good, I guess, for a woman that but is having problems, and she needs some information. She doesn't have to wait until she gets beat up to come over there, right?
That's true. One of the things one of the other programs we have is a community education and outreach program.
That's what I want to hear.
So we
prevention.
Work. Yeah, we work.
Don't wait till it happens.
We'll talk to anybody who will listen, obviously, about our services and, what is domestic violence, what are red flags of abusive relationships. We do concentrate a lot in schools. We try to get in as many schools as we can, and we talk about teen dating violence and healthy relationships, because that's the reality. That's where it starts.
Get talks at different, like the Lions Club, the Kiwanis Club.
We sure do.
You get any calls for them?
We don't know where we're hoping that us talking is really getting the information out and then getting folks to call us if they need us, but they don't necessarily identify, I heard about you from that talk you did at the Lions Club. We don't always get that follow-up information, but sometimes we do.
Well, you supplies a place to sleep?
We do.
Supplies manja?
We do.
Right?
Yep. We do.
That takes money.
It does. It takes a lot of money.
And you get donations?
We get our, as far as Laurel House as a whole, for all of our programs, so
How
our
about
shelter.
the county? The county helps out a little bit?
We get a combination of federal, local, and state money, as well as private foundations and
But
individuals.
That's not a whole lot. That's usually enough to, it's a hug, but not a squeeze.
Our government funding is at the lowest level it's ever been, and we're probably
right. Everybody's complaining about that, you
Yep.
know.
Between 45%, and then the rest of our budget comes from private foundations, our fundraisers.
That's where you come in. All right, now. Okay, Lee, come
Yes.
on, tell me now. You know, how did you get involved here?
Okay, so I was born in Vietnam. I am Chinese. I'm not Vietnamese, but my
Wonton egg roll.
lots of that. Yeah, lots of that at home.
That's in Shanghai Garden in Philadelphia. Go
But
ahead.
anyway, I've never been to China. My hometown, I was born in Vietnam, like I said. So I have witnessed a lot of domestic violence in the third world.
Tell me.
It's just normal. It's almost like everyday life. My neighborhood, my village. Yeah, it's like everywhere you go, there's a lot of. To them, they don't think that's abusive, but because they're a traditional household, they like to disciplines in the hardcore, and sometimes the husband is the man of the king of the jungle,
He's the boss.
and So I've seen a lot
Italians
of that.
are like that, you know. Italians,
right.
I know.
And I thought we'll come to America. Well, we're not going to see much of that. But to my surprise, there's so many things that happen. Recently, just Millersville student got killed from her boyfriend.
Right.
And I think, there's so many things that can be preventive. And Laurel House can give that kind of education, preventative program to educate people. There's so many things that you can use word communication without using physical violence. So I am here 35 years this year as a U.S. citizen, and 10 years as a business owner.
But you were a chemist, right?
I was a chemist.
You make aspirins?
I made a little more intricate than aspirin. We were on the AIDS program, so I had an AIDS drug that out in the market with a team of scientists at Merck from 1998 back then. But anyhow, I love to cook, to sew, to do.
Well, we're gonna have a cooking show. You come on, cook.
I've loved all those things, creative stuff when I was young, and I'm always like to do that. But when I came here, I figured that's not gonna make me money. I want a stable income. I want to work for big corporate. So I was in Villanova, graduated with a chemistry degree, and I go on and work for a pharmaceutical company for 17 years. It's really great, very fulfilling. I've met a lot of great friends, learning a lot of stuff, but I always want to come back to do things that I can create.
Because of what you witnessed as a child or growing up.
Oh, I love pretty stuff. Being a lady, I'm just a lady person. I'm just a girly girl. I love dressed up, and I love decorate house, and I
All
love
right,
all
now
this
tell
stuff.
me about decorating the house.
So what I do is I provide window treatment. I tell people I dress their bare naked windows. If they don't have anything, they move into a home, the windows bare as, like a fishbowl.
Yeah.
Well, there's no privacy there.
Something-
People
yeah.
can see from the street. So what my role is, my company, I like to dress them up just like you dress a person's
Right.
outfit. The window need an outfit. And having an outfit in the windows, it make you feel home. It make a house a home. And for my 10-year anniversary, I really want to give back by helping people who have that kind of environment, who have that loving feeling.
So you're having a fundraiser
I'm having
on the 26th of February, right?
Yes. This year is my 10 years, like I said, and I want to kick off by reflecting. I've been here for a long time, and I really want to reflect. I really want to give back, and I really want to do something that show my gratitude. Along my way, I got so many help. I was on welfare. I was in jobs. I was grant to get here. So I want to be able to do something
give.
give. My goal.
As long as you give, you'll always have.
Exactly. I'm not worried about the get. Once you give, you will get. I truly believe in that.
Right.
And my goal is for 10 years in business, I want to raise $10,000 for Laurel House.
Right.
I know it's not a whole lot of money to operate blood, but to me, it is
I
a
think
lot.
we
It's a
can
lot
make
of
It is
money.
a lot.
It's a lot of money.
And I couldn't do it myself.
Get the checkbook out and start writing some checks.
And we
Okay,
have
where are we
this
going to send
event.
them? Where are we going to send them?
Well, we have an account. It's called Window Fashion Runway for a Cause. So at this event,
This is it over here,
yes.
Right?
This event is on
down
February 26th
right here.
at Crown Plaza in King
Can they
of
see
Prussia.
this?
The website is called windowfashionrunway.com. You will find all the information. You can be a
Here.
sponsor, you can be a donor, and you can come and enjoy the event. And the event is, we have a sit-down dinner, a glass of wine, a toast of champagne, and a free jute bag, and a window fashion show that I will create to showcase people how they can dress their window without having the same thing over for 20 years.
I couldn't.
And
right.
the proceeds will all go to benefit Laurel House.
Okay, back to you.
Okay.
Do you know back in the 1800s, how many people know, I'm going to say, the rule of thumb? Now, what's that mean? What do you mean? No, but a lot of people don't know what a rule of thumb. Let me tell you. I Googled rule of thumb, and what do you think I come up with? In the 1800s, it was the law that the husband could beat his wife with a stick as long as it was no longer than the thumb. And that was the rule of thumb until somebody else, a judge, changed it, and they called him Judge Thumb. But you can see, it was wackos then, okay? So, rule of thumb, you could beat your wife or girlfriend, well, I don't know, they didn't have girlfriends then, I don't know what the story, what they call them in, and as long as it wasn't any longer than your thumb. Now, that's cuckoo. So, but now, they beat you up done without the stick. They're using fists. So, right back to you now. They come to your house, they come, phone, knock on the door.
Well, most people get to us by our hotline, that 800-642-3150 number. That's how.
And the police.
And then we also have I was talking about our programs earlier. So one of the other programs we have is it's called DART, Domestic Abuse Response Team, and it's an emergency response program. So we work with as many of the Montgomery County Police Departments as will have us, and we are available to those officers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So when they show up to a domestic and they identify a victim that needs support, they can get a hold of us at any time, day or night, and we will respond immediately.
Yeah.
Usually depending on where they are, usually within half hour at the longest. We have an advocate that will respond, and upon that response, what happens, it's a variety of different things because it depends on what that victim needs. Does that victim need the safety of shelter? Then we'll help them get to that. Do they need to do a emergency protection from abuse order? We'll help them do that. We'll go to court with them the next day. We'll follow them through that entire process. Let's say that there's criminal charges that are going to happen. They're going to file criminal charges against the perpetrator. We will support that victim through that criminal process. And what
You support them right there, right?
we will, and what we found through working very closely with the district attorney's office in Montgomery County is that
Risa Furman.
Risa Furman,
She's running for judge.
she is.
And then you're going to have a district attorney, Bruce Castor is going to run for district attorney.
Yep.
And you got Bono working for sheriff. The sheriff's department can be helpful too.
Sheriff's
They're going
department's
after
very
all these
helpful.
husbands that don't come up with the green stuff.
Right.
You
So what we do is what we found is
Support.
one of the results of this domestic violence, domestic abuse response program is that the conviction rate. So the victims often find it very hard to follow through on those criminal charges for lots of reasons, which might be a whole show in and of itself. But one of the things that we found as a result is that those victims who are going through that criminal trial as a witness, as the victim of that crime, the follow through and ability to get that case all the way through to conviction is much higher when that victim has the support of an advocate. And that's been it made a huge impact on holding abusers accountable, having their day in court, getting them convicted of the crime. which has been a really great outcome of that program.
Well, you know, when I started with the Northtown Police, 1951, and I remember at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, we'd have the wife or lady come in with our eyes swollen. My husband beat me up and all. Well, for some reason or other, the mentality of the police at that time, I remember the chief and all, they said, oh, well, your husband, you know, it's a family problem, you know, everything will be all right, blah, 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 you know, and we talk out of, you know, whatever, okay.
Go take a
Now-
walk around the block.
Right.
Go
yeah,
take a walk
well,
around the block and cool off.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Then, if a girl come in that was single and a boy, we want to arrest them, you know. So the wife was always the victim.
Oh, that's
See?
interesting.
And then again, she would beat up and say, okay, we get him to testify, and then lock him up overnight. He was drunk, most likely. In the morning, she comes in, oh, I feel sorry for him, you know, and let him go, you know.
Right.
And go home, and then get beat up next week and come back. So, and that's, we didn't have all this here, shelters there. We had the Salvation Army and people that want to help. But now you got different agencies out there, and you have to find out where they are, who they are, and what to do. Don't wait until something happens. Find out what you could, who you call, where do you go?
Well, one of the things that's important to remember is there's a lot of reasons why a victim's going to stay in an abusive relationship. There's a lot of reasons. And some of those reasons are reasons that we just can't know because we're not in those shoes. And that's a big thing. You hear it all the time. Why doesn't she just leave? Why is she going back?
If I can chime in.
Please.
If I can chime in. I think physical evidence of abusive is clear, but a lot of time people don't have physical abusive. They have verbal abusive, mental abusive, financial abusive.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah, that's right. You
a
got
lot
that
of
right.
things, and then people get tied up because they depending on that financial. They have to stay because of shame, because of guilt, because of something that they invested for so long. They have faith that that's not the person I marry. Maybe he'll change, or maybe that's not him because he drank or because he was short temper. But there's a lot of reason that people don't know because they don't want to reveal it.
Right.
But physical evidence is the most obvious, but a lot of other things that more than, I think more than to take a relationship to work is not just that, but there's so many other factors. And I think financial is sometimes a big, huge factor. If the wife does not work and she relied on the husband to provide shelter and comfort for the kids and for everything, that is something that they don't want to
I
leave.
mean, if you
So-
have to decide am I going to get beat tonight or am I going to be able to feed my kids?
Right.
You're going to, as a parent, I can totally get why you're going to choose to be beat. Because I still need to feed my kids.
You know-
So it's
And for the
very
kids' sake.
difficult.
I mean,
It's a
I
lot
know
of
in my
reasons.
culture, people don't divorce or do anything because they love their kids so much that they do anything to sustain until the kid grow up, and then they will take all the beating, whatever, if they need to. But they don't want the kid to be shameful. They don't want a broken family.
All right.
So.
But you know, I have to say that things change. Police departments today are a lot different. They are trained now. They know how to handle situations. I remember it was Dr. Stern gave us a program on family intervention, you know. It would be like one time a detective and I had to go to Texas to pick up this runaway kid down in Texas, flying back. Right. And we got back to the house. The father says, I don't want him. I don't want him in here. And then next thing you know, we had a husband and wife with another problem. So then we got training about when the husband and wife is arguing, that the two police officers make sure that they don't face each other. Right. Get one facing this way, facing this way. And don't go into, like in the kitchen, while they're arguing, there might be a knife there, they'll pick it up and go.
Yeah.
So you have to separate them, put them in another room, otherwise they're standing there, no, I don't want him, you know. So that's, now the police, the district attorney has special unit, the police department has trained, you know. So, but you know, the world today is a little bit different, whether somebody's drinking something or doing something else, and then you have to handle it. The police officer gets in there, we got to find out what the situation is. And the police officer, first one on the scene, is the most important person to be able to tell you what's going on and go along and help these people that need help.
But even so, I think police can't do anything unless there's physical evidence, right?
True.
So, I mean, by that time, it's too late. So I think the great thing about Laurel House is, I think, education, prevention, and get all the message out there that communication is the key. There's no need to have physical violence to communicate. And,
Yeah.
and that's where I think we should focus on prevention.
That's,
Yes.
that's right. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, we're talking a lot about, the abuser and the victim, and we're talking a lot about, sort of male-female lines. And one of the things that's important is that it's important to remember that this is not just a woman's issue. And as Laurel House, we're very committed to multiple things. First of all, understanding that a victim can be anybody. There can be male
Right,
victims.
right.
And there are male victims. I mean, primarily the highest number of victims that we're serving are obviously female, but there are male victims.
Oh, let me hear that.
And there's no discrimination
Oh,
of
you know what?
age or status or
Right, and
anything. Domestic violence.
I don't know,
is everywhere.
about 10 years ago or so, maybe more, I don't know. But they said out in Chicago, they were doing a study, there was more women shot and killed their husbands than the husband killed the wife. So
Right.
things changed a little bit too,
Right,
you know?
right.
But that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you that the domestic violence is not just about women. Tell me.
It's not. Well, I mean, as I was saying, domestic violence doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter how old or young you
Right.
are. It doesn't matter if you're a male or female. What religion you are. It doesn't matter. It's everywhere. It simply doesn't discriminate. So that's important to know. It's also, it's not simply a woman's issue. I mean, we have this event coming up on February 26th. We also have another event coming up in May, and it's called Walk a Mile in Her Shoes.
We'll have you on. We'll
And
talk about
I'm
that,
just going to
too.
mention it quick because it goes to this whole concept of it not being a woman's issue. Walk a Mile in Her Shoes is a national men's march against rape, sexual violence, and gender
Another
violence.
one, yeah.
So men will
Well, you know
stand
what?
up.
I think maybe we ought to get somebody from the district attorney's office here to be able to sit in and tell some experience and then move along on working something like that.
I will say that the district attorney's office for this particular event, well, for all of things, but is very supportive. We will be having, some representatives from the DA's office participating in the event that we are having in May. And what the deal is men walk 1 mile in red high heels. Walk a mile in her shoes.
They make them do it? No.
Men walk 1 mile in red high heels.
Ought to be
They're
fun
gonna
to
make you
watch,
do
huh?
that. No
And
kidding.
this is the third year we've done this
My
event.
father was a shoemaker. We all worked at the shoe shop. You get a high heel.
got high heels?
And them high heels, they don't know. My father, when women would come up with these high heels, you should be wearing them high heels. You're gonna hurt your ribs, you know. He would give
Yep.
them a big lecture, you
Yep.
know. And then, like nurses, they called Cuban heels. They're about this high because they were on their feet a lot, and they don't use them because you go like it's here. And especially when they get down to the casino, you don't see nobody with high heels down there. You know?
So I mean, the big part of this event that we're doing is to really bring up the whole notion that domestic violence isn't going to go anywhere without everyone saying, this is my problem. This is my problem,
Right.
and I need to be a part of that solution. And until that happens, it's really not going to go anywhere. So this is really helping the men who are supporting this issue
That's a great
to
idea.
stand up.
John, I'm going to film that. I want to see these guys walk with high heels. I'm going to have music.
It's great. It's definitely a fun event. So we
That's
can
great.
certainly talk more about that at
You know
another
what?
time. But
I was at a seminar one time, and they were talking about the police officer when he goes into the house. When he goes into the house, you know, the man will have like his hearing's not too good, his eyes not too. So what he would do, all the lights were very dim and the microphone down low, and everybody, see, now you know what it's like to be old and have these defects,
Right,
you know.
right, yep.
But I like to just close it with the fact that when I was a police officer and that women come in all beaten up, husband there, I'm a former professional boxer. I wasn't born to be able to witness stuff like that. And you just felt like maybe give him a left hook, but you can't. You had to control yourself and let the law take care. Okay? So I just want to close with one thing. 5 years ago, my good friend Sheriff John Durant passed away. Great guy, you know, and God bless him. And also in July, Frank Rizzo, my good man. I was one of his pallbearers and good friend. I was one of his kitchen cabinets, you know. So I just want to know that I'm 100% behind this here. I'm going to be there, okay?
Yay.
And
So-
get your checkbook out. Find out where to send it. We'll show you right here, and we're going to go. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to do a little Chinese food. Manja,
Okay.
manja, manja. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks a lot for allowing us to come into your home. And please, what we're talking about here is live stuff that we don't see in the newspaper. It don't hit the newspaper. So let's get as much information. An informed nation is a peaceful nation. May God bless each and every one. Adios, amigos. Rapa, ciao. Let's go. Here's to you.